Think about this for a second. Your ability to communicate is without a doubt the most powerful tool you have. It can build you a career, forge incredible relationships, and totally change the way people see you. And yet, for most of us, it's a tool we just use on autopilot. In this explainer, we're going to dig into the science behind great communication and show you how to start using your voice with real purpose. So let's find that first key.
So, let me ask you a kind of weird question. Could simply copying someone's accent make you like them more? It sounds a little out there, right? Well, a really fascinating study published in Frontiers in Psychology decided to put it to the test.
The way they set it up was just beautifully simple. Researchers had people do one of two things. For the first group, they just listened to sentences spoken in a Glaswegian accent and then repeated them back in their own voice. But the second group, they were told to imitate that Glaswegian accent as closely as they possibly could.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They didn't just pick any accent. The researchers specifically chose the Glaswegian accent because, in a big survey, it was ranked way down at 29th out of 34 UK accents for social attractiveness. So it wasn't one people were already charmed by, which makes what they found next even more surprising.
And here it is, the big reveal. The simple act of imitating the accent had a massive effect. The people who imitated the speaker ended up rating that person as way more humorous, much friendlier, and even having a more attractive voice than the speaker they just listened to. Their whole perception shifted just from the act of imitation.
But what's really wild is how specific this was. When they looked at ratings for things like the speaker's power or their competence, nothing. No change at all. So this wasn't just a case of, oh, I'm paying more attention. Nope. The act of imitation specifically dialed up the feelings of social connection and warmth. This just perfectly shows how the way we use our voice can directly change how we connect with people. But why? What's really going on here? Well, this little experiment cracks open a much bigger idea about where our communication style even comes from in the first place.
The communication expert Vinh Giang just nails it with this quote. We all think we have a natural voice, right? But the truth is, what we have is a collection of habits we've been copying since we were toddlers, exactly like the people in that study copied an accent. We are all, at our core, imitators.
And this leads us to this really powerful way of thinking about it. Your voice isn't some fixed thing you were born with. It's actually a musical instrument you've learned how to play, most of the time without even thinking about it.
Just think about a toddler. A little kid can scream and shout for hours and never lose their voice. Why? Because they have this raw, totally uninhibited access to their vocal instrument. But then, around 2 or 3 years old, we start copying the sounds we hear around us, and that natural voice gets buried under a pile of learned habits.
And this is why the piano metaphor is so perfect. Your voice has this massive range of possibilities. Pitch, pace, volume, melody. It's like a full grand piano keyboard. But what do most of us do? We find a few notes we're comfortable with, and we play those same few keys our entire lives.
You know what happens when we try to press a new key, right? Maybe you try to speak with a little more authority or with more energy, and what's the first thing you feel? This feels so fake. But as Vinh Giang points out, it's not fake, it's just unfamiliar. You're just playing a part of your instrument you haven't taken the time to practice. Okay, so if our voice is an instrument, and we can actually learn to play it with intention, how do we even start? What are the actual practical things we can do to sound more effective, like right now?
Well, here are 3 simple but incredibly powerful levers you can pull. First, volume. And it's not just about being loud. Sometimes speaking very quietly can pull people in and give you incredible authority. Second is melody. The music of your voice. That's what makes what you say stick in people's minds. And third, hand gestures. They're not just random movements. They visually amplify everything you say.
So these tools are amazing for shaping how people see you. But what happens when the pressure is really on? You know, in a tough conversation or a heated conflict. That's when just playing your instrument well isn't quite enough. We need something deeper, a philosophy built around empathy. And this is the absolute core of a framework called verbal Judo. This whole framework is built on 5 universal truths about people. According to its founder, these are just the non-negotiables of how humans work. If you can burn these into your brain, you suddenly have this powerful roadmap for connecting with absolutely anyone. The master key that unlocks all of this is empathy.
And we're not talking about just feeling sorry for someone. In this context, empathy is a discipline. It's the skill of seeing the world from their point of view. You don't have to agree with them, not at all, but you have to truly try to understand them.
And when you start operating from this place of empathy, with those 5 truths as your guide, something almost magical happens. Instead of making conflicts worse, you start to de-escalate them. You stop fighting people for control, and you start getting their voluntary cooperation. And that is so much more powerful.
And I have to say this again, because it's so important. Learning to play your instrument and communicating with empathy, this isn't about being manipulative or fake. It's about being a professional. It's about becoming the person who, when the pressure is on, actually gets better, not worse.
So think about the journey we just took. We went from a really surprising study about Scottish accents to the practical tools you need to play your own vocal instrument and landed on the core principles of empathy. And the single thread tying it all together is this. Communication isn't some magic gift you're born with. It is a skill you can learn, practice, and ultimately master.
So here's the bottom line. You have this incredible instrument you've been given, but you've probably been playing the same few notes on autopilot for years. The only question left is, now that you know you have the entire keyboard in front of you, what new music are you going to choose to make?